And welcome to State of Play. What is the state of play within the NPP as we speak? There are 5 presidential aspirants who, as we speak, if they had a crystal ball, they will give anything, possibly even put their lives on it, just so they can look through the crystal ball and determine what will happen by close of day on Saturday. Because those 5, their presidential ambitions, at least for the next 4 years, will be terminated. And for those other 5, they will know that they stand a chance to live and try again in November. So let's have that conversation, Winston. Then tonight, let's get in there. We know this is a very controversial subject for a lot of people, considering that it's been a very heated, drawn-out race with front runners, with pretenders, with establishment candidates, and with people who are in there. We call them spoilers. But there are also people in there to do deals. You don't necessarily want to.
Of course, in every election there are people who are in there to do deals.
They always just want to do deals.
That's fact, okay? So that's why this morning on the Super Morning Show I said something. I said, look, the people who are in this race, not because they want to win or even they want to make the top 5. They know they will not make the top 5. Okay, they are in there, first of all, to market themselves, tell the whole world I am NPP. And that's why you are prepared to spend over 350,000 Ghana cedis just to let the whole world know that you're a member of the New Patriotic Party. But those persons, they're going to go in there, even if they get 0, they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they get 10, they think they've done very well, they pack their bags, package, go. And then throw their weight. So they'll tell you, I have a lot of people who are supporting me at the grassroots, but I didn't make the top 5, so I'm throwing my weight behind this person. He joins the campaign team. Of course, he's also spent a few cedis. You have to help that person out. So Evans, let me start. Let me start by saying that Kojo Poku, I'm sure you may have heard from him.
He's a very good friend of mine.
We played a sound where he said that, when he goes and people say, we don't hear from you, they think he's just in a race. He's just adding up to the numbers. That's what the delegates are telling him. He's recorded himself and told all of us that why are people saying that, there'll be winners when there'll be no winners. It's just reduce the number to 5.
Yeah.
I want to say this.
Let me hear it.
My friend Kojo Poku knows that by end of Saturday, unless something miraculous happens, unless there's a miracle.
He's not part of the number.
He's not. He's not going to be in there, sadly. He still has age on his side. He can always come back to fight another day. But I'm not sure that Kojo Poku.
So you've ruled him out, okay.
I've ruled him out.
So Kojo Poku has been ticked off the list.
Yes.
So why is he in there? Once we take off the person, why is he in there? I started by making the point that there are people who go into this to make deals, to raise profile, but also to become relevant within the party.
Yeah.
Okay. Timing for me is everything. This is a party, if the evidence of the last 30 years is anything to go by, is approaching the exhaustion of its lifespan in government, right?
Yeah.
Which is next year. The chances are they may lose. Okay. So assuming that it is influence and raising the profile of the party so you can leverage for something down the line is concerned, and the prediction comes to pass that they can't bring the aid, where does that leave him? So that's my first consideration. Okay, that's my first consideration.
Yes. So,
and because if you're doing a deal, you want to do a deal with whoever turns out to be the ultimate winner, right? And then you say, for example, okay, I'm going to back you so that if you win, I get X position. In fact, I have heard from very authoritative sources that people are already beginning to do deals. People are already beginning to say, give me GMPC or give me energy ministry. Sometimes not even necessarily give me a ministerial position or promise me a ministerial position, but let me be influential in determining who becomes that substantive minister or that substantive CEO. But here's the reason why in this Kojo Poku subject, and he himself tells me on Top Story, confirmed that there have been meetings. And already they are talking about what will happen if some of them drop off. And then he says, a lot of the aspirants have spoken to him. He's spoken to others too. And he's already at a point where he knows who possibly he's going to back in going forward. And by the way, and something that also Boache Jacko confirms, that alliances are the real foundation of all politics.
Yeah.
So already people are doing deals and looking at alliances. So Kojo Poku, he says, he is not happy with Dr. Bawumia because Dr. Bawumia is not reaching out. If he has his number, he'll call him. But they've not reached out. Everybody else has reached out. So these conversations are happening. But why does he want that? He already had a profile. If the party is going to go into opposition, if you raise your profile now, how does that benefit
Evans, Kojo Poku, but for his decision, we had all known him as an energy analyst, okay? But for his decision to contest the flag bearership race, we would not be having a conversation about him today, okay? So first of all, it's also important. Now, Kojo Poku goes into this race, and there are a lot of, considerations in this, and I can only guess, okay? He's talked about people not reaching out to him. It tells you that he's willing to do deal. Yeah. He's willing. If he doesn't make it, but that's politics. I mean, let me not sit here and pretend that he's the only one who wants to do a deal. I mean, everybody would want to do a deal at a point. Everybody wants to do a deal at a point. And that's politics, okay? But
you see my point, if he wants to do a deal, but is it the right time?
No, it is the right time. You must be relevant to do a deal. You see, the others who are cutting deals already is because they are relevant. It's because they have votes. It's because they have a constituency. So, for instance, I mean, people have been reached and said and told.
But that deal is only relevant if you're confident that your party stands a chance.
Oh, but even then, you see, people have been reached and have been told, "Oh, I'm going to make you running mate," and so they go out there and they go and campaign for a particular.
The running mate conversation makes sense to me.
Yes, people have been reached and told, "You're going to be finance minister. You're going to be a foreign affairs minister." So they're out there, they're running out there campaigning. But one of the things people forget all the time is that, I mean, when a politician promises you something, I mean, you know the truth is that.
Nanado kept his word to Alan Chamante.
Oh, yes. But Alan Chamante had a constituency. Do you know who Nanado wanted to make a running mate initially?
Who?
Do you know whom he wanted to make? Who? You didn't hear that he had wanted to make Haji Alima Mahama his running mate? You didn't, in fact, hear that even Kennedy at Japan said, but for the Dagon crisis, he had suggested that Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu be made running mate. You didn't know that Boniface Abakar Siddiq was actually recommended by some people in the National Council at the time to be running mate? Yes. Until Nanado then said he wanted Dr. Bawumia after Haji Ali Mahama had been rejected. He had rejected a next candidate by the National Council. And then President Kufuor says, let's allow him to have his choice. So that's politics. It's not a very simple thing, but this is the point. Whatever happens, and there's evidence to suggest, whatever happens, those who contest this election, those who get into the top 5, those who drop based on how they're able to campaign, they'll be rewarded. And so
all of them,
majority, probably all of them could be rewarded.
But will be rewarded by who?
Whoever wins and wins the presidency.
Now you've circled back to my initial point about Kojo Poku's point. And wins. That reward is only cashable in the bank if the person wins.
Yeah, but that's because the NPP says they'll break the 8. So if they are breaking the 8 is anything to go by, of course, the NPP is not the totality of the Ghanaian electorate. But if their point about breaking the 8 is anything to go by, and they say they are on course to breaking the 8, then if you are a Kojo Poku, you should be.
Could I also float this? That you also want to be relevant for the next. You want to build your profile for the next presidential race, for the next primary. So get in now, even if you know the party itself doesn't stand a chance or is very unlikely to win. It's not impossible, right? Because this is politics. Until John Mahama, who thought that we'll have a one-term president, right? Yeah. I mean, so it completely defied that analysis, that trend in 2016, right? Again, until John Mahama, who knew anybody could lose elections by that significant margin in Ghana, that the NDC will go real out of its circle in terms of the core group that always voted for them to what he got. Until 2020, who knew that Greater Accra can still vote for a president and the party will still be in opposition, right? So the point I'm making is, it is not impossible to break the 8, okay, but it is. History says it's going to be difficult to do so. So, isn't it possible for Kojo Poku, for example, considering this is his first run, then maybe he's looking ahead. I want to raise my profile now, at least be there. And you see, the fact that you have a Kwabena Japan still in the race, the fact that you have Joe Gatti still in the race.
Is Kwabena Japan a front runner in this race?
No, he's not.
Is Joe Gatti a front runner?
No, but my point I'm making to you, the point I'm making actually is that they, just like Kojo Poku, who is now starting in this contest, they've done it before, and they've raised their profile to the point now that they are not the first names you mention as those who are going to be following up.
But this is the other point.
So maybe that's why he's also doing it.
In politics,
that 15 years down the line, Kojo Poku will still be in
politics.
And Amoah is still there.
In politics, if you show face and you don't show face properly, that could be your end.
Well, so why is Amoah still there?
Your end doesn't mean you won't come back. Your end, see, the thing about end doesn't mean that, I mean, you won't come back.
Why don't you just say that as for Amoah, his end had
Evans,
come?
the thing about end doesn't mean that you won't come back. The thing about your end means that you will be coming back, but the people will be telling you, yeah, bro. Okay?
Who amongst the 10 qualifies under this description?
Look at Dr. Kofi Apreku. In 1998, he was the star of the election because everybody knew that it was going to be a two-horse race, Akufo-Addo and J. Akufo. But Akufo-Addo was an old horse in the race. When I say old horse, I mean that he had been there. Beg your pardon. The politics of this country knew Akufo-Addo. He had always been there. In fact, recently I realized that, in one of the writings of, Yan Sako, I realized that Akufo-Addo had contemplated contesting the 1996 primaries.
Yeah.
Of the NPP, yes. After the Alliance for Change Kumiprekum walks or demonstrations. And Akufo-Addo had been known. He was very much involved in the country's politics. Everybody knew him. He went and lost to J. Akufo. J. Akufo promises Akufo-Addo, you'll be president after me. Of course, he wins the NPP's flag bearership. He couldn't be president immediately. Eventually, he's been the next NPP president after J. Akufo. But let's put it this way. Kofi Apreku was 44 years in 1998. Mm-hmm. He's 69 now. He was 44 in 1998. He polled 52 votes to place third. The Venerable J.H. Mensah, distinguished politician, had 3 votes in his own backyard, Sunyani. At the time, you had every constituency representing 10 people. As a member of parliament, as minority leader, he couldn't even pull 10 votes from his constituency. He got 3. So for many people, they thought that Kofi Apreku, and that's why today he will tell you that it drew me so. If there's anything like it drew me so, it is his turn. What happened to him? By 2007, he was getting 19 votes. By 2014, he was not even making it into the top 5. He's back again. He believes he has something to offer. But the people are going to look at him again and tell him, oh, offer.
I spoke to him on PM Express. I can tell you that there's a part, when you interview somebody, you pay attention to what he says, but also what he doesn't say. Mm-hmm. And for me, what he didn't say was very strong. And he also came from what he said, right? What he didn't say was, this is a man who still feels that he should be in political service at the governmental state level. And that he is entitled to that, at least a relevant ministerial position. He's entitled to that by virtue of what he's done for the party, right, over the period. And so he actually tells me, and it was a very interesting, honest admission, that he wanted a ministerial position, right? And I say, which ministerial position? He says he wanted to be finance minister.
Of course, he knew he wasn't going to get that,
right? Yeah, of course, he was not going to get that. But that's what he wanted a position, a very significant one, and he had a choice what he wanted. And he didn't get that. The president ignored him. He said there will be promises to him. The president calls the president and says, don't worry, and nothing happened. So you would obviously then begin to see, he didn't say it, but you read into the body language and what he was telling you, that he possibly has evaluated the point that I still need either myself or whoever our guest is to take me seriously enough to next time not ignore me.
At how many years?
Well, that doesn't matter.
At over 70 years?
Well, but that's the point. So it circles back to the deal making, right? He's learned his lesson on Akufo-Addo. Promises made, I will give you a ministerial position, I don't get it. President tells him, oh, you know what? So now, another opportunity is around the corner. Two people are most likely to win this. Two people. Bawumia or Alan. The rest, they put a challenge. The best they can do in November is push it to a runoff. Okay, that's my prediction. So what do? Get into the race and get now a hard commitment, not verbal, that you'll be disappointed down the line again. So for me, I see that as part of the motivation for doing this, right? And he says, look, he's been an ECOWAS, doing a great job. But he admitted that wasn't his preference. And I thought it was a very fascinating admission. That if you're currently an ECOWAS head in charge of the ECOWAS Commission, and you hear that one of your key departmental heads is saying on national television, I'm working for ECOWAS, but that's not where I want to be. I want to be serving in the government.
If you want to be serving in the government, the reality is that you didn't get to serve in the government.
Yeah, but this is an opportunity to be relevant again for the next NPP president to now take him seriously.
Maybe he wants to be senior minister if the NPP wins.
It's possible. So you take his name off the list?
It's not going to. It's not going to go.
Okay, so 2 off.
But let me ask you, who's off for you?
Oh, Adainimo.
Oh,
Adainimo is off for me.
President Adainimo.
President Adainimo is off for me. I mean, I don't know whether I should say it, but this is state of play.
See Ronaldo.
People have come to me and say, oh, interview Adainimo. I say, oh, after Adainimo, I'm tired. I mean, my 19 years doing this. I'm tired of interviewing Adainimo. I've never interviewed him that I'm left thinking, oh my God, there's something I remember. I don't remember any of my interviews. I know I've interviewed more than once.
Oh.
More than 2 times.
President Adainimo?
Yes. So I said no.
The C Ronaldo of the race,
but
number 7. Perfect.
But that is how I feel about him. What do you think the Special Electoral College is thinking about him?
I think it's going to be very difficult for Adainimo.
No, it's not going to be difficult. It's going to be impossible.
No, I said it's difficult for him to go through this time around. In 2014, he was part of the top 5. But he's not going to make it this time. It's going to be very, very difficult.
It's going to be extremely difficult. And you see, this could actually be an embarrassment, right? This would actually be an embarrassment. And I think so. Take him off, Kojo Poku off, and take Dr. Konedo Apreku off. We are left with what? We are left with 7.
7.
Okay.
Of which we're saying that, I'm saying that, look, Dr. Bawumia, Alan Chairman, Ting, Ken in Japan.
Those 3
are going to make it.
Bankable. Yeah.
So it means we're left with Joe Gatti.
We're left with 5. We're left with Joe Gatti, Kwabena Japan, Boache Jako. We are left with
Dr.
Usufri Akoto.
I think Joe Gatti will make it.
Well, I think Joe Gatti will not make it. I think Joe Gatti will not. Definitely, Joe Gatti is not going to make it. I take him out of the list. In fact, he hasn't registered much at all going into this on the radar. Talk to the. You see, the thing about this Special Electoral College, we know them. We interact with them every day in our lives as journalists. I interact with the members of parliament on a daily basis. The ministers, I interact with them on a daily basis. Party executives, I interact with them on a daily basis. Never in my interactions. And you know this. Have any of them mention Joe Gatti. Not even a whisper. So you know what's going to happen. The reason why we keep on saying that Kennedy Japan is a dark horse in this race and can cause an upset, right? Not an upset that he will win, but an upset that he will reduce votes for the 2 front runners and actually be a kingmaker in December is because, look, when you talk to the identify special delegates, they mention his name.
Yes.
They mention his name, and the context with the message is interesting. They are astonished that they find that in their own constituencies, the delegates there are rooting for him. And there's a vibe there. And they say they wish he's not in the race because he's worrying the front runners. Either they support Bawumia or they support Alan. They are both unhappy. And that's why that's why we all come to the conclusion that this guy is going to cause a havoc. And then you talk to the honorary delegates who. So that's the basis for which I take out. That's the basis for I take out Joe Gatti.
And that's another problem. You see, this is the point I was making earlier. While I say that it'll be I see Kennedy Japan making the top 5. I heard another school of thought arguing that there's a lot of scheming going on to get him out.
Yes.
And there's a huge scheming.
Yes.
And because today you have the special delegates, super delegates, going in there, I don't see this happening, but in the politics, everything is possible.
Of course.
Everything is possible in politics.
But you see, in deal making, we're talking about deal.
Yeah.
If anybody can do the biggest deal.
With him, he's gone.
In fact, I'm going to reverse the point. If anybody can get the biggest deal out of this, it's Kennedy Japan.
Yeah.
The biggest deal. Because his value to whoever he backs is going to be massive in November. Not now. Not now. In November, the grassroots will rally. Right? You need somebody in your campaign team you can go to the delegates with, who when he speaks, it will reverberate. But if I were him, I won't do a deal.
Why?
Because I can be the kingmaker. I can cause any of the two front runners, pull them down to the point where they're unable to get 50 plus 1. It is at that point that you do a deal. At that point that you do a deal. And remember that the conversations we've had and confirmed by Bache Jacko, they've been talking.
Yeah.
And I've said there's a possibility they'll form an alliance.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a possibility that it will become a 2-horse race.
Yes. And so if it's a 2-horse race, I mean, Bache Jacko's analysis is, who do we support? Do you support establishment candidate or non-establishment candidate? And they said, okay, if the establishment candidate is supporting one person, then we can't go and join that bandwagon. Then we might as well tie our cloth to the non-establishment candidate. In this case, but I'm saying that even in that alliance, Kennedy Japan will have the biggest voice in that alliance. Because not everybody coming to that table will have the same value, right? So in other words, we are saying top 3 is settled. I'm saying, where we disagree, I'm saying that Jogate is not mine.
Jogate could make that list.
Okay, let's come to Efri Akoto.
That's another difficult one for me because of from where I sit, I know some of the constituency chairmen who were sponsored by Efri Akoto who won the elections.
Samahia.
Well, anything happens in elections. I've continuously been saying that. But it's become very difficult for him. But I won't rule him out. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to say that, look, beyond everything, I think that Jogate will go through. I think that Adanimo won't make it. I think that Apreku won't make it. I think that Kodiboku won't make it. Amongst Boache Jacko, Kwabene Japan, Uwusu Efri Akoto, only one person gets to make it. But for me, I'll just to choose my top 4. I think that Jogate adds up to the list for me. Okay.
Well, that's yours. So my name will be the top 3 in no particular order. The top 3, you know them already. I've said it already. And then you bring in the Boache Ejako and you bring in the Kwabena Ejapon. And that will be my top 5. For now. We'll see on Saturday.
We'll see. I mean, it's just Saturday is just around the corner.
We'll see, but we haven't said a lot about Dr. Bawumia and Alan. Right? We take it for granted, and rightly so because of the evidence. But for Dr. Bawumia, it's not just about winning. It's not just about winning this Saturday. It's about winning handsomely. Because if among this crop of delegates, many of them have been following him around.
Yeah.
And the system, we all know what's happening. The system sort of favors him. If he doesn't get over 70% of the votes, I think he would. There will be a bit of unsettling moods in his camp. I don't know if you agree.
Well, of course. I mean, and that's where the issues are really. Because, look, a lot of these candidates know that the real election will be on the 4th of November. They just want to make the cut. And then when they've made the cut, that's when they're really going to go hard, very hard campaigning. And so if you're a Dr. Bawumia, you want to send a signal. And already you may have heard I've seen a quote card by one of my from I think a radio station in Kumasi. I think I see Ebusiankom or something. I mean, one of those stations, where it says that the majority leader is suggesting that if anybody gets about between 60 or 70%, they should think of letting that person go unopposed.
Goodness me, look, let's leave you with that. Think about that for a second, and let's see what happens on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of the day.